exerted on medieval writers can be seen by a study of the work of Albertus Magnus, 13th century theologian, philosopher, and teacher. St. Thomas Aquinas was among those who attended Albertus' lectures. So St. Thomas Aquinas made it his goal, Albertus Magnus and St. Thomas Aquinas, and this is from Eugene Myers, Arabic Thought and the Western World, all right? Listen to this quote. Albertus Magnus and St. Thomas Aquinas made it the goal of their lives to reconcile Aristotelian and Muslim philosophy with Christian theology. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas is the adopted philosophy of the Catholic Church. And he was heavily influenced by, I didn't make this stuff up. If the Pope needs some book references, I can give him some good book references, but I didn't make this stuff up. So, to end, this is Montgomery Watt again. When one keeps hold of all the facets of the medieval confrontation of Christianity and Islam, it is clear that the influence of Islam on Western Christendom is greater than is usually realized. Not merely did Islam share with Western Europe many material products and technological discoveries, not merely did it stimulate Europe intellectually in the fields of science and philosophy, but it provoked Europe into forming a new image of itself. Because Europe was reacting against Islam, it belittled the influence of the Saracens and exaggerated its dependence on its Greek and Roman heritage. That's exactly what this talk was about, is how this is our heritage. Totally rejecting any contribution of Islam. And in this 21st century, for a pope to do that is a grave disservice to interdependence, to harmony, to mutual respect, to an ability to live together, to actually appreciate and respect the various contributions. Europe has made immense contributions to human civilization. But to completely deny the contributions of the Muslim world and ultimately of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's what he says. He says, so today an important task for Western Europeans as we move into the era of the one world is to correct this false emphasis and to acknowledge fully our debt to the Arab and Islamic world. That's a Christian who's fair and unbiased. And that's all we're asking of the Pope. And I miss John Paul II. Because he was reaching out. He kissed the Quran. When he was in Syria, he kissed the Quran. And they gave him flack for that. But that was just an act. It was a charitable act. Charity comes from caritas, which means love. It's interesting that the Pope talked about love in that talk. I didn't see much love towards the Muslims. And the average person doesn't have to love us, but Christ said, love your enemies. So even if you see us as enemies, Christ commanded you to love us. Dostoevsky said the reason that that's such a powerful injunction is because it's easy to love your friends. Anybody can do that. A dog loves his master. But to really reach out with an open heart to people that might not be like you or think like you or see like you. So I would just say to Muslims, we have to think at a deeper level. The Quran tells us to be patient. The Quran tells us we're going to hear things, but we need to explain to them who we are, what we're about, what our religion is about. We need to behave like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to take up his sunnah. And the Prophet was a gentle soul. He was halim. He was forbearing. He was meek. He was a lion in battle, and that's undeniable. But when the battle ended, the largesse he always showed the people he conquered brought them to tears. That's why they became Muslim. He fought those who fought him, and he was given that permission. He was never aggressive. He's not an aggressive person. He was never vengeful. So I think it's very important that Muslims really think at a deeper level. But I'll end this by saying Europe's in a crisis, and the Pope's very well aware of that crisis. It's a crisis of identity. Who are we as Europeans? Well, there's a historical fact. And the fact is that Europe's identity, historically, revolves around two essential facts. The first is that they were Christian, so they have a Christian identity. The second is that their serious threat and enemy was Islam. That's Christian identity. Now, they're in a post-Christian era, so how do they maintain their identity? Well, the other historical cohesive factor in their history is an antipathy towards Islam. If they want to do that as a way of trying to congeal their society and hold it together, it's a failed project. The Muslims aren't at the gates of Vienna. They're treating your children. They're your pediatrician. They're the greengrocer down the road. They're picking you up at the airport. The guy in the taxi, that guy right there, Abdul, he's a Muslim. He's not going to hurt you. He'll take you to where you're going, hope to get a tip from you. They're the curry houses of London. That's where English people, if they want a good meal, they go to curry houses in London. Those are Muslims. They're not poisoning your food. They're not threatening your existence. Those are Muslims. So we need to live together. We're here, and we're here to stay. The world's not getting any bigger. May Allah guide us all to what's right and true, and may Allah bless our Ramadan, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.